What's going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time we were on, we had just went into the town of Himizawa and met a very young Rika. And as we were exploring the town, we eventually went into the shrine, aka the headquarters of the Onikafuchi warriors, and we saw a darker side to Rika. So, let me explain some things before we dive in. So my theory of that the player character we're playing in chapter 4 being Tomoki, now that I look back on it, well, it doesn't make that much sense. At the time, I'm just like, dude, it would be like a crazy twist if like the point of view character was actually Tomoki. But like now that I think about it, it's kind of stupid. And the whole Mark II thing really mess with me because of how much doppelgangers pop up in this game, you know? Like it's popped up very like frequently. So with that Mark II line, it really just messed me up. Being like, oh my god, I'm so white. There's clones or whatever in this town. But because of that line, I had to look back and obviously be proven wrong by the previous videos. And so I'm like, you know what, screw it. How about I just write down some notes? So I wrote down a general notes, not like every single thing, but like the general stuff like the Onikafuchi, the Oshiro-sama curse murders, some character details, stuff like that. But as I was going through the videos and, writing down these notes, I made two connections. So, in chapter 1, when Oshi was talking to us about Rena and her, background of her breaking all of the windows in their school with the baseball bat and breaking someone's head, pretty much, she said that, she was being possessed by Oshiro-sama and she wanted to go back to Himizawa. That could have been the first case of the Himizawa syndrome that we saw at the end of chapter 3, or that was mentioned in the newspapers. Because as we read in that, the survivors of Himizawa and their family members began having mental breakdowns and suicides and people claiming they were possessed by Oshiro-sama. So Rena could have been the first victim of the Himizawa syndrome. It's very interesting. The second, much more stronger thing, I feel like, is that at the final act of chapter 3, we find Rika murdered on, at the shrine, with her guts spilled open, right, and entrails everywhere. That ties back in with the Wanakagashi, the old tradition of Wanakagashi, of the demons having a human sacrifice and spilling open their entrails and begin eating them and all that. I don't know why they still murdered Rika since she is the shrine maiden of Himizawa, so it doesn't really help us with that, but it does point us in the direction that it was someone in the village that knew about that tradition, because not many people know about that tradition, which helps us narrow down who murdered Rika. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't Kechi, because Kechi didn't know about that tradition in chapter 3. Or maybe he did, I don't know. But, hey, that's some new tidbits. I would have never made those connections if I didn't go back, which is just awesome for this game, really. I'm able to go back and make connections where I couldn't before. So, let's go into the tips. Going smoothly. Sorry for the long intro. The sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical, what a word, footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump, 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 thump. It was the passcode.
帰ってきたね。開けちょくれな。俺だ。ああ、お疲れ。今開ける。
After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had 7 marks written on them with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were then spread out over on a sheet on the floor.
カップラーメン買ってきちゃう。お湯沸かせな。小僧はどうしてる？
Yeah, definitely the kidnappers.
ずっと寝てる。 手がかからなくて助かるよ。うんこ垂れるときは騒ぐけどな。漏らさせんな。練習は万一の時、やばいって。分かってるよ。猿グツワは定期的にチェックんな。外れてもまずいん。きつくも締め付けちゃあん。窒息させたら意味がなん。分かってるって。あれ、携帯コンロのガス管頼まなかった？もうガスねえよ。聞いてねえ。だは。マジかよ。ついてくれよ。くそ、くそ。
He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh, and with a backwards glance at that sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor.
小僧、元気かいね。
And of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. Shit. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt.
今んところ順調らし。命の心配はない。お前のじいさんがしぶりよったん。耳たぶの一つも切り落とさなきゃならんかったんけ。やらんくて済んで助かりよんよ。本家はこうと決めたら鬼やんね。どんな残酷なこと命令するかも想像つかん。
Main family, huh?
その本家が小僧に傷一つつけるな言うてんから、とにかく順調なんだろんな。大臣はダム計画を撤回で水面下工作。ひなみ沢ダム計画は無期凍結へ。
I guess Rika could have been referring to either the foreman's murder or the kidnapping. It's very possible.
小僧の解放はいつ頃になるんだろうな。はあ、早く一服したいもんだぜ。本家が決着のタイミング測ってるらしい。いつになるかはあらんが、近いうちやんな。よかったな小僧。もうじき解放されるぞ。
The men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sweep to escape his harsh reality.
それよん、ガスをどうするんね。ラーメン食えんよ。ガス切れたなら言うてえな、もう。
Interesting. Now, the obvious answer would be, oh, it's obviously Himizawa, because they referred to the main family, which they could be referring to the Sonozakis or the other two. But I feel like it's not the obvious answer. Or maybe it could be. Maybe that's the twist. the expected, I guess. I don't know. Why I like rainy days? The weather forecast had predicted that it wouldn't rain at all this entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same, unchanging, sunny weather, however, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. If it's simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialist said that they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping that it would be wrong as I stared up into the clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky undisturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased to this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcomed the summer evenings where not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. But when you're called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you was instead an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry. So I'm going to guess this is the same, like, quote-unquote narrator as the honey one, or the fire one. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted by such whimsy. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still I would be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. Tonight was repeated 100 times, and 100 times you had to eat curry rice. Yet for just this one night, that was changed to an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry. There's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening. I had pre-established routines. I really hate things when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. It's been decided that this entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obligated to do so. But who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? It's something that nobody can say for sure, but because that thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. However, I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung upside down weather charms on my sunlit eaves drops. In the end, I spent my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. So rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. Interesting. Who is that point of view from? And also, this is interesting. Barley tea and black tea in a millstone. We got ourselves a young Mion.
だいぶ血圧も良くなってきましたよ。そのお年でこれだけの回復力があるのは、いやいや、感服するばかりです。お嬢さんなら100でも200でも元気にお過ごしになれますね。
The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon.
入江の先生はほんにお上手で。
Very surprised we got a
わ
portrait.
しんたいな死に損ないは早うしなんと若者の邪魔になっていけんね。
The old lady Oreo. Oye. No matter how many times I'm going to say it, it's probably going to be wrong every time. The old lady Oreo laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then turned towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice.
しみこさん、かたえこさんおらんね。入江先生に麦茶でも入れてやりゃな。
The sound of lush footsteps from the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Oh.
しみこさんは今日はもう上がっちゃったよ。何かよ。
みよ、入江の先生に麦茶を入れたってんな。
うん、了解。抹茶も飲む？紅茶の方がいい？砂糖もミルクもたっぷり？
わしが加減するから入れんでええんね。砂糖壺とミルクも一緒に持ってきてんな。
はいはい。
The girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway.
先生の麦茶は 来客用のガラス茶碗に入れるんよ。ちゃんとお座布団もつけてな。水滴もちゃんと拭き取っとくんね。
わーってるって、うっさいな。
A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of voice was far from unusual. The old lady left a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl.
しょうがないやっちゃな。叱られるうちが離んねえ、なんたく。
お嬢さんお嬢さん、まあ、そこまでは言わなくても、ミオンちゃんも若いなりに頑張ってますから。
あれの母親もな、しょうがないやっちゃったんね。よう似とる。
で、その母親の母親もまたそっくりなんじゃないですか？
The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way.
入江先生、申し訳ない。症状開けてもらえんけんね。風が涼しそうだわ。
The cool chirping of the Higurashi at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had built up in the room.
日中はだいぶ暑くなったように思うんですが、まだ朝夕は涼しいですね。夕べは少し肌寒いくらいでした。
そんな朝夕もまたひなみ沢のいいところな。
Irie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them, for a little while, soaked in the voices of the Higurashi.
わしゃ100まで生きにせ。もうしばらくは死ねんよ。ダムの剣きっちり蹴りつけるまでは勘の蓋かって収まらんわ。
国が一度決めたことを撤回するのはなかなか難しいでしょうね。
国のやることはな、いつの世も一周す回すみたいなもんね。そんでもだいぶ重いやっちゃ。
Yeah, it's true. True for America.
石臼ですか？
知らんねか、イシウス。
Irie quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about, for he knew full well that Oreo didn't have... That is not how you say it, Void. There's no way in hell that's how you say it. For he knew full well that Oryu? That's probably it. For he knew full well that Oryu didn't like her having her stories interrupted.
国のイシウスはな、なんでもゴリゴリ引いちまう。大したもんよ。でもな、簡単には回らない。重いイシウスなんねんな。たくさんの人間がせーのってやってようやくじりじりと動き出す。そんなイシウスなんよ。
Irie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oryu... Okay, good, I stuck with it. Seeing that Oryu was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, and careful not to interrupt.
だから一度回り始めたら簡単には止められんね。回し始める一番初めが一番重い。それが嫌だからみんな手を休めんとゴリゴリ回し続けるんね。
摩擦係数の話でしょ。確かにバッチャの話、理屈はあるね。
ちゅうことはだ。何かの間違いで突然イシウスが止まっちまったら、また回すにはどえらい力がかかる。 ちゅうこったな。
確かに一度中断した計画をもう一度動かすのに必要なエネルギーはかなりのものでしょうね。
簡単には止められんイシュースだけどな。一度止めれば二度とは回らん。そういうイシュースよ。
イシウスを止めるいい手があればいいんですがね。
When Irie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Irie, instinctively thinking he had said something rude, searched in a small panic for the words to correct himself. But that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across Mion and the old lady's faces were contemporaneous smiles. The atmosphere surrounding Irie suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted. Thinking that the scornful smiles creeping across both of their faces was the result of some mistake of his, he could only grow afraid. I know the game is really pushing me to make it seem like Tonizakis are behind the kidnapping, but that's way too obvious. It hadn't been that long at all since he was enveloped by silence. However, unable to stand it, Irie could only let out a weak laugh. Irie's laugh eventually split to Mion and the old lady, not knowing exactly what they were laughing at. Their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Let us continue on. It's only been 22 minutes. The phone suddenly rang. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m.
しまった。定時連絡の時間を寝過ごした。
I picked up the receiver.
赤坂様、
Akakasaka.
外線からお電話が入っておりますが、おつなぎしてもよろしいでしょうか。ご同僚の加納様と申されております。
I knew it. I didn't call in, so they had to phone me.
すみません。つないでください。
かしこまりました。おつなぎしますので、一度受話器を置いてお待ちください。
After I had put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began to ring again.
はい、もしもし。赤坂です。
赤坂くん、加納です。お疲れ様。定時連絡がなかったので、こちらからかけました。そちらの状況はどう？
Leaving the lecture for later, my senior co-worker got straight to the point.
今日はひなみ沢村へ実島に行きました。観光客を装うことで村長以下の何人かの死守同盟の要人との接触に成功。何も聞き出すには至りませんでしたが、好印象を得て明日以降へのつなぎを作ることができました。
そう。なかなか手際がいいね。赤坂くんのどこか初々しい感じがむしろ武器になったのかもしれないね。まずは上守備ってところかな。
比較するほど経験がないので上守備かは分かりませんが、とりあえず今日のところは順調だと思います。
県警での情報や地元警察の公安での情報と照らしてどう？鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は白っぽい？
I still didn't know. I should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that, but for some reason, I hesitated.
まだ調査中ですので、なんとも。
そう。なるべく早めにね。分かってると思うけど、今夜が終われば、誘拐から丸4日が経過する。
Jeez.
いつが時間切れという明白な区切りはないけど、時間の経過は確実に我々の状況を不利にしていく。それは分かってるよね。
ええ、分かっています。迅速に。だけれど、細心の注意で調査を続けます。
うん。くれぐれも気をつけてね。 相手は暴力主義団体なんだから。油断すれば危険もあり得るからね。危険が迫ったらすぐに連絡を。その場合は地元公安に応援体制を入れられるようにするからね。
ありがとうございます。頑張ります。
他に赤坂君の方から連絡はある？
I reported several bits of supplementary information, and at the very end I decided to ask.
そちらの調査の進展はどうですか？
うん。こっちもみんな頑張ってるけど、なかなかはかどらないよ。何しろ調べる団体が星の数だからね。だから君の方の団体も白だと分かったらすぐに帰郷して他の職員の応援に入ってもらいたいんだよ。室長は鬼ヶ淵も洗っとけって言ってるけど、俺は鬼ヶ淵なんかの反ダム住民団体なんかは今回の件全く無縁だと思ってるからね。
God, it's so interesting how like 50-50 I am on this. Like, I'm more leaning over to like, no Kafuchi warriors are behind the kidnapping, since they haven't directly hurt the boy at all. They're simply just holding him hostage pretty much until the minister pulls out of the dam project. But it could have been another different organization that's just against the government, and maybe they just don't like the dam or whatever. It honestly could be 50-50. It's definitely leaning more towards, Himizawa, but like, as I said before, I think it's a red herring, to be perfectly honest. It's all pointing to Himizawa, but I feel like it's pointing too much at Himizawa,
職員一人を一団体調べさせるためだけに出張させるのはすごく痛いよ、ほんと。
At this point, he was just complaining. He was telling me to stop taking time during my trip to finish up and get back quick.
なるべく早めにケリをつけるようにします。
うん、よろしくね。じゃあ他に何もなければ切るよ。
はい、特にありません。
As we were ending our call, he scolded me thoroughly for being late with my regular report. After that, I hung up the phone and sprawled out on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Hoshi. He was supposed to contact me about the time and place to meet with the informant tonight. I thought about getting angry with Hoshi in retaliation for being scolded for forgetting my daily reports. Come to think of it, though, Hoshi didn't really say anything other than that he was going to call tonight. Waiting for a phone call when you didn't know what time it was going to come was in itself rather difficult. Just when I thought that, the phone rang. Picked up the receiver in a hurry.
もしもし。
これはびっくりしました。赤坂さん、あなた受話器取るの早いですね。
I really like this, nice jazzy theme. Maybe it's because I just like, jazz and like detective noirs,
警官辞めても大企業の営業で十分飯が食えますよ。
まだ警官辞めた後のことなんか考えたこともありません。
そこまで過剰に反応されると面白いなあ。しかしいけないなあ。因果な商売ですし、今から考えても遅くないですよ。
遠慮いたしますので、本題に入ってください、大石さん。
そうですか。それは残念です。じゃあ老後の話は次の機会にでも。
God, why does nobody want to go to the strip club with me?
では本題に。
Many of the executives in the Yonakufuchi Guardians had a lot of sway in the neighboring regions. Even in Okayama, there were a lot of people with relations in the village. That's why meeting in the Shishiborn Market District far from Okayama was a matter of course.
赤坂さん、こっちこっち。ちょっと迷いましたが。北口からの方が遠回りだけど道は分かりやすかったかもしれませんね。
いえ、遅れて申し訳ありませんでした。
夕飯はもう食べちゃいました？
ええ、済ませてあります。
じゃあお酒の飲めるお店に行きましょうか。洋酒派？日本酒派？女の子のいる店といない店はどっちがいいですかね？
お構いなく。勤務中は飲みませんので。
Hearing that, the man that Oshi had brought along bent backwards as he guffawed, clapping Oshi on the shoulder.
ねえ、初々しい人でしょ。その分ちょっぴりサービスしてあげてくださいよ。あのお金は全部彼のお財布から出てるんですからね。
The man that Oshi had brought seemed like almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie, even his appearance was dubious. The informant grinned deviously.
おい坊主、お前旦那にいくら渡した？だいぶ途中でつまみ食いされてんぞ。
大石氏への仲介手数料も含めていますから、それも含んだ上です。
It seemed that the informant had expected a more extravagant reaction on my part. And responded matter-of-factly, he realized that I was an extremely different type of person than he was. But rather than putting the distance between us, it seemed that I had piqued his interest.
だから言ったでしょ。真面目な人なんです。でもね、赤坂さん。私たちのような職種の人間は豊富な社会経験がとても武器になるんですよ。
女の子がいてお酒が飲めるお店での経験がどう武器になるか疑問です。
The informant, unable to contain himself, clutched at his stomach as he guffawed, heedless of the people watching.
いや、もう赤坂さんはいちいち察しがいいな。よっ、さすが高学歴。
大石さん、あなたどこかで飲んできましたね。酔っ払ってます。
オフタイムに飲んで何が悪いんですか？あなたは勤務中でも私はオフ。
God, Oshi is just the absolute pinnacle of the, old, about to retire detective archetype type of character. And I love it, absolutely. Oshi, who was the sort that flew around to begin with, was in such a good mood I couldn't figure out a way to deal with him. Completely different than me, who had come worried about getting every bit of information I could. Oshi-san, after taking so much money, you were supposed to give me information worth at least as much. Thought this, but then realized I was getting my information from the informant, so it didn't matter how drunk Oshi was. It was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. Oshi and the informant, who was no doubt a fake name, but he introduced himself as Sato. Sato? Sato? I'll go with Sato. Led the way deeper and deeper into the back streets of the market district. Even though the market was bustling, a couple of turns off the main street and you were in the desolate alleyway. Oshi started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. There wasn't any sort of signage, so I couldn't tell if this place was open or if it was even a store at all.
安心してください。
It's a mahjong parlor.
怪しい店じゃありませんよ。
Those words coming from Oshi's mouth had absolutely no credibility. I knew it. Beyond the door was, thankfully, a typical mahjong parlor. I was relieved that it wasn't the sort of suspicious place I had to be on my guard about.
はい、いらっしゃい。あら、大石さん、お久しぶり。こっち入ります？すぐ開きますよ。
いいえ。今日はセットですからいいです。お、待たせましたね。
Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. It seemed that a middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th had already arrived and was waiting for us.
遅えぞクラウド。俺はもう消えろと思ってたんだから。
Oshi made an excuse for why we had taken so long. Eventually realizing that it was a new face, the other man grew interested.
彼は赤坂さん。東京からはるばる出張されてきた将来有望な新人さんです。
坊主、お前麻雀はできんのか？
まあ学生時代にそこそこに。
You know what this chapter is like really reminding me of? That like it's like similar like Plymouth Rise, you know, Twin Peaks. You know, that show, you know, there's a murder, or, well, in this case, a kidnapping, and a fresh new face, you know, FBI agent goes to this little town in the mountains. Because from what I heard, Twin Peaks was absolutely popular in Japan. It was all over. And it's obviously a show I need to watch because I love myself some small town mysteries. Absolutely need to watch it one day. Sato and the old man quacked in unison. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, this was at all inspired by Twin Peaks. Their plot to sucker me out of my money was painfully obvious.
緊張続きの出張で疲れておいでだろうと思いましてね。一つ今夜は心の選択でもして差し上げましょうかと思いまして。
今さら野暮なことを聞きますが、私たち警察官ですよね。
まあそれはいい子なしで。なに、実際にはかけるわけじゃありませんよ。この後いいお店に遊びに行くときに誰が全員分を払うのか決めるだけですって。
Good old-fashioned gambling.
遊びに行く？どんな店に遊びに行くんですか？
Without reservation, the three of them started suggesting places like cabinets, high-class clubs, and even brothels. At the very least, they were the type of places that you couldn't go to with money that wasn't just for funsies.
私のお金は先日、大石さんに根こそぎ預けて支払いは不可能ですし、仕事。
じゃあ、坊主が勝てばいいじゃねえかよ。
Alright, time to play the mahjong minigame.
おめえが勝ったら、この雀荘の支払いはなしで。クラウドに仕事の話でも何でもすればいい。
Damn it, I knew I should have played those Yakuza like a dragon mahjong minigames. No matter what happened, it seemed like they were intent on playing mahjong for free. I would have to fasten my resolve a bit. If I was going to be underestimated like this forever, it was going to get in the way of my work.
わかりました。では、少しだけお付き合いします。私が勝ったら、アフターの遊びは一切なしで、すぐに仕事の話に入ってもらいますからね。
いいですとも。
俺が勝ったらフラワーのブルーマーメイドに直行だからね。
おやっさんも好きだな。私はもちろん馴染みの店をはしごしまくりですよ。あっけみちゃん。佐藤さんはどうします？
私は静かに飲めるお店でいいですよ。
静かにバニーさんとでしょ。この間飲みに行った時、あとバニーさんの尻尾を引っこ抜いちゃったでしょ。あれ結局弁償だったの？
マスターに縫製代とか言われて一本ドンペリ開けられたな。
What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were growing on us while we wildly continued our crude conversation. Speaking of which, the fact that they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. Oshi had taken all the money I brought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't that much left of that either. If I kept on hanging around him like this, through his goading, my wallet would disappear into the night. I had to somehow win and return the conversation to my job. But these people, no matter how you looked at it, were pretty good. Sorry, Yuki. Sorry, Yuki. Go kanji move. Well, the old man and Sato-san probably won't fall for the silly Richi. I wonder if Akase-kun will spit out what I need.
クラウドのリーチなんざどうせこの辺だろ。こ の辺なら通るだろ。そりゃ
Oh, the old man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my safe tiles to carry his hand, isn't he? Seems that Asaka-kun has at least learned the ropes when it comes to guarding against someone's Wichi. But that will be his downfall.
どうした坊主、サクッと切らねえかい。よくわからなかったらクラウドと同じもんを切ってりゃ安全だぞ。
Yeah, since we're seeing mahjong, or well, reading it. Kaiji, great series, great gambling series. Very great at psychological thriller. Really like Kaiji. I don't know. And any way to talk about Kaiji, talk about him. Ooh, Asaka-kun's really fighting over this one. It was glaringly obvious that he had safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away because it would move him farther from completing his hand. They're so nice when they're young and innocent. Come on, hurry up and throw out the kicker. If he gave me the winning tile, we'll be headed to an establishment where I could do all sorts of licking and sucking. God damn it. If he gives the old man his winning tile, we'd be headed straight to the place with maids and boomers.
これは通りますか？
He looked up as he hesitantly threw out a tile that was, oh, too bad.
おいおい、危ねえパイだぞ。クラウド、通るのか。
いい、通りますよ。
It seems this time you were lucky, but as long as the round kept going, it could still win off the draw. Damn, I could. That was actually, at least I think that was a good impression of Hoshi's, like, giggle or breath. But after that, Asaka-kun managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad tiles, and somehow the round managed to end without anybody completing a hand.
Tenpai.
Shit. Tenpai.
当然。
Sato-san had keenly anticipated that two players were in Wichi and had decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Now let's see, what kind of hand did Asaka-kun have? When the round ends with nobody winning in mahjong, anybody in Tenpai has to show their hand. But if you're not in Tenpai, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would normally show their hand even if they weren't in Tenpai and start a commotion about how if this tile or that tile came, they would be in Tenpai. But he didn't. Being stingy.
どうだった坊主。ちょっと見せてみ。
Sato-san reached over to flip the hand that Asaka-kun had casually placed face down.
なんじゃこりゃ。
He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Asaka-kun totally bad at this after all? Right then, as the old man compared the tiles from Asaka-kun's hand to the discard pool, a puzzled expression crossed his face.
坊主、おめえ、この辺りで張っとるだろ。どうして切った？
マンズの高いあたりが急に高騰しましたので抑えました。大石さんのリーチに対して安全性が高まったのにです。筋でさばけば無難なのにわざわざ抑えた方がいる。
おう、クラウドのテンパイなど鼻から論外っていうわけか？
相当高度な引っ掛けでなければ私の宝珠を期待したぬるめの手かと思って。それよりもダマで張ったあなたの方がとりあえずは問題でした。
いつテンパイしたのに気づいた？
この辺りですか。ノンタイムで4連続で切ってますよね。初めは食い替えかと思いましたが私をチラチラ見ていたので期待しているんだと気づきました。
Asaka-kun, you...
赤坂さん、あんた麻雀始めてどのくらい？
高校から大学くらいまでの間しかやっていませんよ。さあ続けましょう。佐藤さんはテンパイしなかったから流れて次は私ですね。おや。
It seems like Asaka-kun is really aware of how the game flows. We thought we were just doing to eat him alive, but it looks like that isn't going to be so easy.
大石さん、想図が濃すいですね。
Yeah, guys, I don't think that's Tomoki.
回しますか？
この坊主。クラウド、降りるな。
あと3ついい牌が来ればな。佐藤さんはうまくいきそうです。
くそ、食いたんで引きずり下ろすか。チーだ。
C ですか。じゃあすみません。それポンです。
Whoa now, going to call free of a kind after declared us straight. Tried to override and interfere.
坊主、おめえ離れしとるな。
まさか私が生まれる前から撃ってるような方々とは比べようもないですよ。それです。ロン。トイトイ赤赤ドラさん。
Damn.
親ですからね。ちょっぴり高いですよ。
くわっ。
赤坂さんやるな。これは我々も本気を出さないとねえ。
本気のついでに展望も出してもらいましょうかね。私は眠いんで手っ取り早く終わらせます。
Akasaka-kun? This is somehow unreal. Before I could realize it, there was an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasa-kun's feet.
ぬるいですね。マンズのリャンウーパーが笑ってませんか？
ちくしょう。
坊主てめえ。
クラウド、お前差し込め。坊主の親、とっとと下ろすだ。
悔しいですが、どうやらそうした方が賢明なようですね。
出た。ローだ。太陽ドラ1。
すみませんね。頭っ鼻です。ロン、ピンフ。
頭っぱねだ。小僧のくせに。
小僧が相手だとじゃああんたその小僧以下ってわけですね。
Damn.
面白いな。あんたら連中は決まって小僧だ坊主だって言うよ。
赤坂君。
Damn, this really is White Kenji.
赤坂君ですよね。なんだかムードが変わりまくりなんですがね。
私をかもって今晩はいいお酒を飲むおつもりだったんでしょうが、どうやら皆さんの当ては外れそうです。ロン、単品3色赤1ドラ1。
おお、張ってやがったか。
だからあんたぬるいよ。いくらダマだからってこんなにぬるい三面なんだから読んでくれなくっちゃ。
Akasa-kun chuckled as he rested his chin in his hands. The pose was so fitting it was almost scary.
おいクラウド、話がちげえぞ。初々しいカモがネギ背負ってきたって言ったのは誰だ。
いや誰でしょうね。
おいさん、まずいよ。このままじゃ負けるよマジで。
Akasaka-kun, for you to make me get serious. Looks like you really want to be milked dry.
ポンポン、気前がいいですね。もう一回ポンです。
Akasaka-kun was almost singing at this point. The tiles he had opened were all pin tiles. You can't be serious. Are you really going to go for the flush?
坊主、正気か。4つも晒したらおめえパイが1つだけじゃねえかよ。
そうですね。知ってます？短期待ちって一番読まれにくいらしいですよ。
バカかてめえ。そこまで染めて晒しといて今更出ると思うんじゃね
え。読めてますよ赤坂さん。それ均一でも本一でもないんでしょう。4つポンした時点でトイトイは成立してますからね。 あんた今絶好の単独トップ。こいつは鎮一と見せかけでトイトイで食おうという挑発手でしょ。
そう思うならピンズ切って。大石さんの肺の左5つ、さっきから切り損ねてるピンズですよね。
Shit.
それを端から順に切ってみたらいいんじゃないですか。
You must be joking. Is he a mahjong god? If not, he had to be the main character of a manga or something. True. At that moment, the old man sent me a sign on the table. The message was simple and clear.
クラウドやれ叩き潰せ。
こんな若い子に様は好きじゃないんですがね。
あほ、ここまで舐められて今さら引けるか。
もう知りませんよ。ではどうぞ。
行くぞ坊主。リーチだ。オープンで行くぞ。ピンズの一数値待ちだ。
Most likely, the tile that Akasaka-kun was waiting for was one of those tiles. With this, Akasa's... God damn, I hate my fucking pronunciation. Can't even pronounce English words right, let alone Japanese names. With this, Akasaka-kun was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the wall, I switched out the tile that Akasaka-kun would draw. The tile that I put in was the 1-pin, one of the tiles that the old man was waiting on. Akasaka-kun discarded it a little while ago, so there was no threat of it being the one he needed.
おい、坊主の番だぜ。
I knew he was troubled that the tile he drew was the 1-pin. Of course, he couldn't discard it.
坊主、分かってると思うが、オープンリーチに振り込んだら100万払いだぜ。
言われるまでもありませんよ。
The tile that came from Akasaka-kun's hand was an honor tile. Whew, ain't that something? There's only one north wind tile left, isn't there? You were counting on a really rough weight, weren't you? With this, Akasaka-kun's fate was decided.
カズ、命拾いしたな。だが、手配は1名だ。逃げきれなくなることもあるんじゃねえのか。
やっぱりそういうことか。
Oh shit. Akasaka-kun glared the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had pretty good instincts. Did he figure out we were cheating?
やめましょうよ、やっさん。赤坂君の方が2、3枚は上手です。
バル、ここまで来てやめられるかよ。次行け、捕ませちまえ。
The next tile Akasaka-kun would draw was a 7-pin. With that, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hand. An unavoidable full payout. When I drew my tile, I sneakily swapped Asaka-san's crash. What? Akasaka-kun suddenly sneezed, collapsing a wall of tiles in front of him.
おいおい、何やってんだ。
すみません。ついくしゃみをした拍子に山を崩しちゃって。バップ払いですね。親だから4000オールですか？それともバップは積み棒に？
Unable to hold back, I guffawed. Asaka-kun, knowing he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, he took the strict measure of knocking over his own wall.
やるな、坊主。100万払いをそういう手で防ぐとはな。ガッハハハ。
大石さんもそんな見え見えの積み込みは勘弁してください。これが馬場なら今ので卓をひっくり返してたところですよ。
いえ、すみませんすみません。あなたを侮っていましたよ。 あなたどうしてお強いじゃないですか。
正直に話さんかい。若い頃はだいぶ慣らしたんだろ。
早稲田高田の馬場あたりでだいぶ遊ばせてもらいました。ちょっと勝ちまくりすぎて馴染みの店に出禁を食らいまして。
Jesus, he really is a gambling manga protagonist.
今の家内にだいぶ怒られて足を洗ったんです。
勝ちまくりすぎて。あんた当時はどのくらいの勝率でやってたの？
メンツにもよりましたが、歌舞伎町あたりで打つときはほぼ負けなしでした。特に相手があれ系の人の時は命かかってましたからね。
20 times? What kind of stakes were those? Do you have Yakuza at your table? Or pro baseball players?
なんだクラウド、このタク、お前どっからこんなプロ雀士みたいなの引っ張ってきたんだ。もうやめ。ああ、もう坊主、おめえの勝ちだ。降参。
ありがとうございます。光栄です。
いやしかし赤坂さん、あんた打つと性格変わるね。なんで就職なんかしたの？あんたならフリーで十分に飯食っていけるじゃない。
プロ雀士には腕と突きの両方が必要なんですよ。私には後者がありませんでしたから。
好きなんてその時の運不運だろ。あんたほどの腕があれば十分にいけると思うがな。
波の突きじゃダメなんですよ。勘したら3回に1回くらいはそのままカンドラが4つ乗ってここぞという時に狙ってリンシャンが引ける。そのくらいじゃないと。
赤坂君、そんなのが頻繁にできたらそれはもう超能力者ですよ。
いえ、イカ様でも超能力でもなく、そのくらいの打ち手は結構いるんですよ。新宿で知り合った泣くたびにドラが乗りまくる雀士なんか鬼のように強かったですし、横浜で打ったプロなんかは当たり前のように一発で引き当ててましたからね。私にはああいう月がないんです。
What type of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance.
というわけで総合トップは私でよろしいですね。
へい、乾杯でございますよ。
負けた。久しぶりに大負けだ。
しかし打ってる時の坊主気合入ってたな。結構怖かったぜ。
よく言われます。自分ではそんなに目つき変えてるつもりはないんですがね。
Hey, you don't mess with a gambler, mahjong player where they're the game.
そんなに怖い目になってましたか？
The three of us nodded empathetically in agreement. Said I was Asaka-kun, the mahjong prodigy. Before he goes home from his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at a high-stakes table to replace. That's not gonna get greedy.
じゃあ仕方ないや。約束です。夜の学習会はこれでお開きにしましょう。申し訳ありませんね、おやっさん。今夜はこれでお開きです。
しゃあねえな。消えて寝るわ。体力つけんと体が持たん。
お仕事が大変なんですか？
ああ、おやっさんはひなみ沢ダムの第一工区の監督さんなんです。
Oh! Also, great timing of the music cutting off. Oh, shit! Oh, fuck.
住民とは連日小競り合いをしてますからね。
Wait, what day is it?
しんどい商売ですよ。
Is it by any chance a Sunday?
来年あたり第二工区も任されちまうかもしれねえな。黒田さん、血圧上がりまくりって聞いたしよ。
God, is it amazing how with just one piece of dialogue, the mood is absolutely flipped. That's so great.
身が持たねえや。
おやっさんなら大丈夫でしょう。あなた、見た目よりも面の皮厚めですしね。
俺だって仏じゃねえからな。
Oh my god, is this where the rumors first began? Because the locals call Oshi a messenger of Oshiro-sama. And, well, Oshi's with the first victim.
腹渡にくり返る時あるぞ。特にその先のあの小娘は我慢がならん。あいつの顔面いつか簡単には治らんくらいに歪ませたろって思ってる。
Shion, probably.
まあまあまあ。でも給料はいいんでしょ？
Or was it Mion? Probably Mion. Well, yeah, was it Shion? Well, Shion was... Is Shion the older sister? No, Mion's the older sister. So it would be probably Mion.
かなり破格の給金だって聞きましたよ。
おっとりめえだ。あんなに世知がれえ職場で給料が安かったら誰も残らんよ。
Feels like they're gonna cut off your limbs at any minute.
あ、クラウド。警察はいつになったら村の人間全部追っ払ってくれるんだ。国から立ち退き命令とか出てるんだろ。
ねえ。どうなってるんでしょうね。
The old man who identified himself as the foreman of the Hinazawa Dam spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, then left quietly.
じゃ、行きましょう。あとは佐藤さんに任せますかね。
大石さんは帰られるんですか？
私が一緒でもお邪魔しちゃうだけでしょ。それに佐藤さんの仕事を買ったのはあなたです。私は対価を払ってませんからね。
Oshi-san was kinda sketchy, but he was strangely contentious about some things. I felt quite a bit of a gap between myself and Oshi's generation from that part of them I didn't comprehend.
じゃあ坊主。いや、ジャンシ様にもう坊主なんて言えねえな。
Boy.
赤坂くんでよかったっけ？
はい。
じゃあ赤坂くん、行こうか。
では赤坂さん、また何か困ったことがあったらいつでも頼りに来てくださいね。
大石さんにお支払いできるような対価はもう持ってませんよ。
んじゃ、今度の勝負で少し手加減してもらえたらチャラにしますよ。
Oshi, seemingly still not having had his fill of playing around, but without overstaying his welcome, disappeared into the night. Like, seriously, can someone, like, point me to, like, a calendar? Because I just really gotta know the date right now. Very interesting. God, what an absolute twist. Like, wow. Like, it's not like a huge major twist, but like, god damn did that change the mood so quick. The informant named Sato-san had me get into his car before he set off. He favored narrow roads and made numerous short left turns.
左折法による尾行確認ですか？
詳しいな。
Checking to see if you were being tailed by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you were being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway was better than not.
赤坂君が何者かは旦那から何も聞いてないんだが、やっぱり警察関係かい？尾行確認に詳しいなんて、あとは探偵者くらいしか思いつかねえね。
言わなければならないものでないなら拒否したい質問ですね。
やれやれ。麻雀やってからすっかり雰囲気が大人びちまったな。 会った時のあのおどおどしたあんたはどこ行っちゃったんだよ。
I smiled wearily. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful for being made to play mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato-san, confirming that there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the lights outside. The only things I was able to hear were the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs.
旦那からひなみ沢村については多少のことは聞いてんだろ。
Let's see what type of information we got.
御三家という旧家による支配や現在は園崎家が一党独裁をしているとかそういう話ですか。
そこまで知ってるならくだらない前置きは省略していいな。
ではお願いします。犬飼大臣の孫の誘拐に鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が関与しているか否か。
Sato-san checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anybody behind us before speaking.
昨夜園崎本家で親族会議が開かれたそうだ。
Okay.
親族会議ってのは旦那から聞いてるか。
いえ、
普通に親族会議って言ったらまあ親戚が集まってお茶でも飲むようなもんだよな。だが園崎本家の親族会議っていうのはそんなのんびりしたものってわけが違う。
A family council held by the Sonozaki main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly control Hanazawa village. They wouldn't be talking about private family matters, it would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the dam project. Among other things, everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. At the head of the meeting was Oryu Sonozaki, more or less called Empress Sonozaki, as the ultimate decision maker of the clan. She was to be feared and respected. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. It seemed that lately she had grown weak, and on days where she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Family councils that occurred while she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. In the middle of a dignified Japanese-style room, still on a futon, only the upper half of her body sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oryu Sonozaki. Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion Sonozaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was to merely sit beside Oryu Sonozaki, sometimes responding to her requests. However, she was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryu. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of the Sonozaki's leader. And also on either side of her sat several other important members of the remaining three families, the Kimiwoshi family and the Furude family. First on the list for the Kimiwoshi family was of course the mayor of Hanazawa village, Kichiro Kimiwoshi, and lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite to them sat the other of the three families, the Furude family. The Furude family was only comprised of a family of a Shinto priest, so the only ones sitting there were said priest, his wife, and their daughter Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and it seemed that Oryu was no exception. While the stress from just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days, it seemed like Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid it no mind, said humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oryu's futon like it was a katasu. All of this was the three families, and all around the room lined row upon row were relatives of the Sonozaki family. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were direct relatives. The others were left to sit in the seiza position. It's not how you say it. Seiza position directly in the tatamani mats. With Emperor Sonozaki enshrined at their center, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in the order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonozaki family was overwhelming. The fact that the Sonozaki family held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power was held in the three families as clear as day. The number of members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Himizawa.
その会議で何が話されたんですか?
So maybe it was, I guess the Kimiroshi family is the second power, while the Furude family is third. Well, I mean, I always got the impression that, since they're priests, they would be higher up than the Kimiroshi family. I always just figured the Kimiroshi family was just the figureheads of Himizawa that's, masking the Sonozakis, controlling everything behind the scenes, but maybe they were just swapped. Saito-san, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak.
マスコミ関係に支払ってる謝礼金の額が大きいんじゃないかい?
Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiroshi family, Kichiro Kimiroshi. The Onokafuchi Guardians wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of the Himizawa Dam project with no reliable source of income. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but as the conflict dragged on, that amount was steadily declining.
石を投げるだけが全ての時代じゃないさ。マスコミの力も侮れないのは重々承知しているし、今後もその力を借りたいのは同じさ。
The expressions of the people related to the Sonozaki family were sullen. As the one who suggested that they should borrow that power was the family head, Oryu Sonozaki. The battle wasn't just about a force of arms. In this civilized age, they were civilized methods of fighting. Oryu suggested that, creating strategy and incorporating the mass media. Oryu's foresight was spot on, and the effects of that plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site was meant to delay progress on the dam by even one day, then the propaganda warriors in the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there was somebody now who called those results into question. Damn. So it was Oryu who decided to push for the whole media spotlight. Very smart. But in order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. But with the conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. The head of the Sonozaki family, no, the one who had sat at the pinnacle of the Himizawa's three families, Oryu, had suggested the idea itself, so it was already untouchable and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged that it should be so allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the mass media.
どう思う？お嬢さん。
The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Sonozaki household herself was probably Mayor Kimiroshi. Oryu, with a hard-to-define expression on her face, as if she had severed herself from the feathers of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiroshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was quietly listening or didn't even have the intention of listening at all.
去年機関士の値上げの理解を得るのにも随分苦労したじゃない。一度だけってことで理解を得て、また今年もってわけにはいかないよ。ねえ、古手さん。
The mayor worked to the priest and his wife in the Furude family for information. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response. But his wife gave her answer without a second thought.
そうですね。機関士代は特に貧しい家には大きな負担になっています。みんな自分たちの村のためだからと耐えていますが、 これ以上の値上げはやめた方がいいでしょうね。
The bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onokafuchi Guardians. It outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve, but you couldn't deny the contents were rather piecemeal. That bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but whether it was something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it had become something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said that this was one of the main sources of income for the Onokafuchi Guardians. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Himizawa it had suddenly become the opposite. In the neighboring towns as well, it seemed that many businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. The priest whispered to his wife to not say anything unnecessary, but was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. The priest's wife always held the power in the relationship. Interesting. That was because she was the one who carried the Furude bloodline. The priest merely married into the family. He was nothing more than somebody who adopted the name just to join the three families. Okay. Interesting. So he was adopted into the family rather than be, properly into it. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he had still not gained any favor. Casting a backwards glance at her rather disparate parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Singled by a look from Oryu, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother. There, something was said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple of questions with a nod from Oryu, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words.
機関士の値上げもやむを得ません。
Shit. Kimiroshi made a face like he had just bit into something unpleasant, but that expression quickly disappeared like it had never happened at all.
だけどミオンちゃん、君だって分かってると思うけど、機関士の負担は決して軽いものじゃない。南沢のすべての人間にかかる重みなんだ。あんまり負担をかけすぎれば内部から崩れることだって。
内部から崩れるのは誰ですか？
どれって別にそういう意味じゃ。
最初に崩れるのは誰かと聞いています。
Shit. Being cross-examined by a girl who still had figments of childishness remaining within her, the words struck in Kimiroshi's throat as he sunk into silence. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. The words she had spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oryu. That's why, when Mion spoke them, they carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oryu's, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was, without question, one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oryu, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise for even a minute. That's why nobody even thought of Mion as just some sort of little kid.
君吉さん、機関士の値上げごときでは誰の決意も崩れませんよ。
Kimiroshi, while grumbling a little bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection.
マスコミ関係への出費は継続とします。その出費がさらに圧迫となるようなら、機関士の値上げもやむを得ない。
We can very much see from this Mion that, the pressure on becoming the heir was put on her at a very early age. Mion had wondered her judgment. Everybody bowed their heads, silently listening to her words.
園崎家当主代行、園崎ミオンです。我が名において以上決定し、決定の効力は即日発行されるものとします。 異議はこれを認めず、抵抗ある場合は実力をもって排除します。
God damn. The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There would be no retrial, but there was a certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was a judge, she would have banged her gavel, signaling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Oh, what the fuck? Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell.
なんとも大時代的な親族会議ですね。
That's very interesting. So, I guess the bell indicates the end of a family council, huh? That's interesting because we've heard that same bell like a good couple of times throughout this game.
あんたみたいな若いもんにゃちょっと信じられないだろうけどね。こういう古い土地にはこんなのが未だ根強く残ってるもんさ。
It was exactly as though she had said. The old system of the three families had vanished, and now the Sonozaki family was running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic.
会議はそれで終わりですか？
いや、まだ続く。先を続けるよ。
But wait, there's more. Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. Within all that, a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of a gang that her father was the leader of. That organization had the entire area of Shishiborn City under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, this was talking about the criminal underworld, so it's not like just anybody would know. But just showing a patch with the gang symbol on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighborhood. Mion's biological father, Tooryu, was her daughter's husband. The power of that man's gang was the driving force that controlled the dark underbelly of the Onagafuji Guardians. And so that man, from his position as the next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Was it okay for her to tell what she had just heard directly to Tooryu? It looked like she was asking him that question. Her father gently but firmly nodded his response. Mion also nodded and saddled up to Oryu and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion had finished conveying her message, separated herself from Oryu, fixed her posture, waiting for Oryu to signal a response. It wasn't often that Oryu showed any emotion. That's why, when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everybody in the room.
そら、難儀なこともあったものよの。
Conundrum, huh? Oryu was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask.
どうしたんだい、お嬢さん。
我らにとって土地が母なら、この度のダムの騒ぎは母の命を脅かされる騒ぎっちゅうことだろうな。
Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oryu, with a wide grin on her face, turned towards everybody and addressed them in a charlatan voice.
ダムの親玉の大臣がの、孫さらわれちまって、右往左往しとるっちゅう話だ。
Shit, so they found out about it.
これでおあいこだの。
バカな。
Information of the kidnapping of Mr. Inaki's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even we didn't know much about the kidnapping incident. Exactly how did an antiquated household so far away from Tokyo come to know of it? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about Himizawa village. At some point, I had mentally filled this place away as unrelated to the incident at hand. That mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind.
どうして鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が知っているんだ
Sato-san, unable to come up with an answer, fell into silence.
すみません続きをお願いします
なあ
Okay.
犬飼建設大臣のお孫さんがさらわれた。お嬢さん、それは本当かい？
That major of an incident was nowhere to be seen in newspapers or on TV. But in Imazawa, there was nothing strange about Oryu knowing something that the rest of the world didn't.
我らの痛みは母を失う痛みじゃの。それに値するとは思わんが、孫を失う痛み。少しは答えるといいんじゃがの。なあ。
The last question wasn't addressed to anybody in particular. It was as if she was looking for consensus.
だが、土地と人様の子供ではわけが違うの。隠すのは構わんが、怪我だけはさせたくないものやの。
Oh, shit.
ここには何の罪もねえ。大事にしたれな。
Well, that fucking confirms it. Was the obvious.
それはつまり鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が誘拐事件に関与しているということ
So much for that 50-50 at the start of the video.
必ずしもそうとは言えねえな。
どうして当主であるお涼がこれほどまではっきりと誘拐した孫の処遇について指示を出しているのに。
兄さん、これはね、その崎家のいつものことなんだよ。
いつものこと？それはどういう意味です？
Always does. Let's say there was a particular problem. One that wasn't exactly favorable for the Sonozaki family. If Oryu shows concern over that particular problem, hearing that somebody who attended the family council would be helpful. As a result, Oryu's wish would be granted. However, neither Oryu or anybody else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events even though they had their hands weighed out on a table.
では、親族会議に出席していた誰かが犯人ということですか？
God, that is something. What fucking, like, easily, like, you know, just... God, that's so fucking smart. The Sonozaki family being gigantic fucking family with businesses everywhere. Really, it could have been any of the family members, the cousins, the uncles, sisters, maybe. I don't know. They're able to kidnap. So.
あるいはそもそも犯人なんかいない可能性だってあるよな。俺自身、その万座の一同の中に誘拐犯がいるって確信を持ってるわけじゃない。ただ、自分の意見を述べただけさ。
God damn. It was an odd and unpleasantly secretive way of doing things. Were they involved or weren't they? Who can see beyond the veil? This much, however, I could say with certainty. This kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high position somebody was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who would know about it, they would be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself. Including the minister, there would be people affected by the incident. Or the people that committed it. In any case, there was no way an old household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. Them knowing at all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow.
孫の誘拐についてお涼が述べたのはここまでだ。あんたの知りたかったことが含まれてりゃいいんだがな。
Willie doesn't help us out. Like, they could just say, like, oh, it's just a mere coincidence, you know?
あとは兄ちゃんの仕事だな。何のお仕事やってるか知らんけど、園崎家を相手にするなら相当の覚悟でやっとけよ。大石の旦那は怖いもの知らずだけどな。あれでも2、3回は襲われてる。最近は来てないけど、一時はオフの時も防塵ベストを着込んでたんだよな。
ええ、忠告ありがとうございます。気をつけることに。
標準語が流暢だよな。兄さんは東京とかの人？
え？それが何か？
Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information myself.
兄さんのお仕事だけどさ、ひょっとして警視庁の公安部の人ってことある？
Damn. I couldn't remain silent here. It would be the same thing as admitting it.
え？まさか。
こっから旦那からもらった金の範囲には入らないんだが、兄さんとは今日宅を囲んだ仲間だからな。サービスってことで話してやるよ。お涼から誘拐の話が出た後、もう一つ話題が出たんだ。
Another topic. Another topic that Ryu brought up? Right before he told me this, Sato-san asked if I was from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those two things meant caused a chill to one of my spine.
そんででな、大臣の孫さらったのを調べるために東京からはるばる公安の捜査官が派遣されてくるっちゅう話だ。
God damn.
公安の捜査官？
大臣の孫の誘拐な、うかつにゃ大ごとにできゃんってことで、警視庁の公安部が独自で調べとるっちゅう話だ。はっ、大行なこったの。どうした？
Rika, who had been drawing the entire time and was completely uninterested in this conversation up until now, looked at Oryu with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up.
警視庁が来たのですか？
リカちゃまは警視庁も知ってなさるんかい。えらいの。
誰が来たのですか？
公安のどんなやつが来よったんか、誰ぞわかるやつはおらんかいな。
Mion's father raised his hand sideways.
新米の若造が一人と聞き及んでおります。
新米？ほかほかなのですか？
ん？ええ、はい。新米とか。
Mion's father smiled wearily as he answered Rika's question.
ほかほかのふかふか？
ええ。
ほかほかのふかふか？
Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? That was a question that apparently nobody had the answer to.
リカちゃまはその男のことを何か知っているのかな？
知んないのですよ。
After a rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Oryu's futon again. But when she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again. Instead, she was making an expression like she was deep in contemplation.
どうしますか、お母さん。
Mion's father posed the question. He had the type of uncouth expression on his face indicating that given the order, he could snuff out the problem at any time.
はるばるひなみざまで来よった。 しばらくはのんびりさせてやるのもよかろう。
泳がせろということでしょうか。
Mion's father asked in response. Oryu smiled thinly as she responded.
ほっといたれな。が、あんまりおいたが過ぎるようやった。そん時は遠慮せんとな。なめられるのはすっきゃせんね。
Shit.
なんて話があったそうだ。
Get the fuck out of there.
まさかあんた、その警視庁の新米じゃないよな。
まさか。
Yeah, it would suck to be that guy, huh? The sensation of cold blistering feel began to crawl its way up my back. This family council took place last night. In other words, yesterday. Then today, when I was dressed up as a tourist headed towards Himizawa, my cover was already blown. Holy shit. Oh my god. They knew it before we even came into town? What the hell? When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. The person at the family council who expressed interest in the man being dispatched from the Metropolitan Police, Rika Furude. And then the person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at that bus shelter, did Rika-chan already know my true identity? Did she know that I was Akasaka, dispatched from the Metropolitan Police Department and come to meet me? Then, including Mayor Kimiroshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew but just pretended not to? Because Oryu had given instructions not to interfere. Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. If there's people that are good at acting, then there's people who are bad at hiding things. If there was that many people, then there should have been somebody among them who knew I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. But then, even still, why did Oryu tell them to leave me alone? Was it because if they were curious about it, it would only raise more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Akasaka is a coward. I recalled that strange voice which could only make me believe that Rika-chan had been possessed. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. And then how did it warn me again? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the Yonakufuchi Guardians had discovered my identity, the absurd worry brought on by the unknown girl struck me with more. What exactly was that girl? What was the thing I would eventually regret? That mysterious girl, Rika Furude. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There's no mistaking that the possibility the Yonakufuchi Guardians were related to this case was there, and that the fact that my cover was blown meant I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support.
もういいかい?
Fuck, man.
よければ好きなところまで送るよ。
あ、すみません。では、お会いした元の駅までお願いします。
A rural road where even a street light was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but the asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Or was there something working there, waiting to strike? I had to think I drew the short straw here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head. Holy shit. How the fuck? So, they must have somebody on the inside of Public Division if they knew someone was coming. But how the hell did Rika manage to go into the Gwyn Demon's eye? What's in the box? The investigation went to ground. God, so many interesting tips, but why did... That's... What the fuck is happening? What is going on? Still great things. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something? Put it down in the comments below. Check out the Discord server I am in, or my Twitter. Check the description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!